All right, now it's loading. Okay.
Welcome.
All right, so it took a while. Okay, but we're in.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Okay.
Hello.
All right, so just trying to get this here. Okay, so here we are. Got it. All right. Hi, everybody. We're here and we're live for our first episode, the premiere of the Indigo Book Club. So this is a new show. Excited. And I got my lovely co-host here.
Hello.
Lee. Hello again, my darling.
Hello.
So we discussed this for a while back, and we actually chose. We didn't choose. The group chose because we had like a bunch of selections,
right?
And we put it up on a poll, and everybody decided on this book here. Well, it's kind of backwards, but it's the Empath Survival Guide. So this is the one you guys chose, which was a good selection, if I do say so. And I read it a while back, so I had, as you see, I have a copy, but I had to like refresh because it's been a minute since I read it.
Right.
But so, all right, so let's get started. Like, Lee, overall, what did you think of the book? Like,
I love the book. As I stated before, like if I would have had this book when I was a kid, I think it would have saved me a lot of heartache, a lot of arguments, a lot of energy saving, because it teaches you the techniques in here, how to protect your energy, protect your empathic abilities, because we're not just knowing or feeling, there's seeing empathy, there's knowing it before it happens, and people think you're just crazy, but you're not. And if this book really, as I stated before, helped me just realize like I wasn't alone growing up, and I felt seen. I felt seen for the very first time just reading that, and I'm like, okay, so I wasn't overly sensitive. I'm not just a Cancer. So I'm just, I feel it. What I'm saying, and then being told that I got to get a thick skin, and I can't be like this, and I'm passionate about things. I'm very passionate about things, especially if I feel deeply about them, and that's part of me being an empath. Is I'm not just feeling my feelings, I'm feeling everything.
Exactly. Yes.
So, when I'm over in a crowd and I have all these people around me, I'm feeling everything. That's why, I try to limit myself as much as possible when I go to events. And this book helped me even to set those boundaries to when, okay, yes, go out, have fun. However, if you feel a certain way, politely excuse yourself. It might be awkward for a second, but go ahead and do it anyway.
Right.
And I still kind of struggle with that a bit, because when I'm out in public with others, I do notice that I'll tend to clam up. Like, I just won't talk afterwards, because that's me being depleted. I can't talk. I'm just like, I'm ready to go and sleep. Like,
right.
But
and sometimes you have to like mentally prepare. And I think that's why this book was so brilliant, because the way it was structured,
right,
to give you different scenarios and how to navigate through them, which I found incredibly helpful. Like,
yes,
like you said, there were so many things in the book that hit home, and I was like you said, if only I had this book years ago, it would have saved me so much like stress and trials and tribulations. Because let me tell you, I was like, man, like it was this book, I feel, for empaths, for those that are highly sensitive, it's a godsend. Like, seriously, like for everybody that's watching out there.
Yes, it's a godsend. I love how they have the assessment too, because I'm over here thinking I'm just a regular empath. No, honey, I am a super duper sensitive, full blown empath. I'm like, oh.
Right.
I didn't realize, like,
in the first chapter, right? They break it all down.
They break
like,
it
did
all
you
down
like, did you like check everyone? I was like, yep, I was like, one. It's like,
I was like, what is going
right.
on? What is okay? Because I didn't realize, just like how it is with zodiac signs, it's same thing like empathy. There's beacons to it. There's like, okay, there's moderate to medium, and then there's full blown. And
right, like a
sorry,
spectrum, exactly.
I'm
It's a
full blown.
spectrum.
It's just so much. It's crazy how detailed and how much he breaks it down. And it's not just some woo-woo we're talking about. This is an actual psychiatrist. She is a doctor of psychiatry. And she says, hey, I'm an empath. My patients who I talk to, some of them are empaths. And this is how it needs to be broken down. And she pretty much gave us the blueprint.
Right.
I think it's
and
amazing.
That's what
it's needed.
I think that's what made this book so dope. The fact that she incorporated both the science and the spirituality.
Exactly.
And she incorporated it throughout the book.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing with science and spirituality. People have to understand how closely connected they are. Alchemy, for instance, that's one and the same of science and spirituality. People need to understand that. When people are a part of an apothecaries and stuff, that same thing. It's all the same. And she hit everything on the head here. And I love that. I love that she brought facts. I love, because I'm a psychologist, I'm a counselor by nature as well. When she just comes up with facts, I'm just like, oh, I'm eating it all up. Like, ugh. Right. And it just was like a breath of fresh air, this book. And I just really felt seen. I was awake. I was alert. I was like, let me learn these new meditation exercises for myself, just for me, things that I don't know. And like, let me just, tune in real quick. Let me also help my kids my children are Indigo kids. All of them are. It's just, and they're highly sensitive as well. I think they're more sensitive than I am. And I'm at that stage as a mother, shaping and molding and helping my children, embrace their empathy abilities and, be a part of this community that we're in and be proud of it. Be proud of your sensitivity. Be proud of who you are. Because I grew up feeling that being sensitive meant like something was wrong with me. It meant like, oh, I was weak, or I just, I couldn't handle stuff, or I can't handle the truth. And that's not the truth, because I feel the intention of someone telling me something when they're saying, oh, I'm just being brutally honest. No, you're not. You're being brutal.
And that's what we were constantly told.
Right.
Like, oh, stop being so sensitive. Oh, you're such a crybaby. Now.
I hated that. I hated being called a crybaby because they didn't understand what I was feeling. And I never felt understood growing up. Never.
Yeah, it was the same for me. And I think that's why in the beginning of the book, like the first few chapters, it talks about childhood and about a lot of us having to suppress our empathy, suppress our sensitivity, because no one really fully understood it that was around us, and it just made us feel alienated. And like what was crazy in the book, she's very open about her past with addiction. She had history of addiction, like alcohol and drug abuse, and she said that was her way of numbing the sensitivity. And and she was going through this back in the 60s, and this was like, modern
no one's talking about that in the 60s.
Yeah, right. Modern medicine and psychiatry and psychology, it was still, on that transition, you know what I mean? There was a lot of things that were still
a lot of speculations, and people didn't realize that psychology and psychiatry actually helped mental health. They just thought we were just a bunch of quacks. And it was nothing, especially in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, even to up till now, unfortunately. So when she, broke down things of what she used to do substance-wise, right? When I was younger, I used to drink a lot. Used to drink a whole lot because I found that drinking numbed a lot of the sensitivity. Drinked a lot, and I also had no clue. Did you know that Tylenol also numbs your empathy?
How crazy was that, though? Acetaminophen, Tylenol, right?
Yes.
How crazy is that?
Thought? That's crazy. Because now when she had mentioned that and I read that, I'm like, wait a minute. She's right. Because I was taking Tylenol for some time and I just realized like, there was a time period I just wasn't like, reading or anything. I just wasn't posting anything. And I was noticing myself, I was like, yo, I'm not feeling. And I noticed that. And when I had stopped taking Tylenol, because I didn't have any pain anymore, I realized then all of my feelings started coming out. I'm like, okay. But when I read that in the book, I was like, that makes so much
Right.
sense. Why are we not told
And I never
this?
liked it. Never.
Why are we not told this?
I always preferred ibuprofen to Tylenol, to acetaminophen. I never.
Now that I know that it's Tylenol, I'm doing ibuprofen, period. I'm not like, I can't. I'm just like, why are we not told? This books like this is something that empaths need to know how to take care of themselves. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is spiritual soul food. This is soul food for us. This is something that we need. Okay.
Yeah.
In order for us to take care of ourselves, we got to have the tools. We got to have the skills. We got to have the knowledge. And now that we know better, we got to make sure that we got to let our empath friends know as well. Like, hey, you guys got to read this book. I know. And I'm just so, I'm in love with this book, really. Just like, even if I read the chapter once and I read it again, I get something new from it. And I'm just like, that's the message that I needed. I needed that. It's a fantastic book.
Like, I was just pulling up the book now and looking at, because, we're talking about, the author, Judith Orloff, how she had a history of addiction, and you mentioned yours. For me, it was, my drug of choice was food, and it still is. Like, I struggle.
Oh, and that's another thing that she said about it doesn't even necessarily have to be drugs. It could be shopping. It could be food. It could be exercising. It could be things that you're overly obsessed with. Like, you feel the need to have it. Okay. That it could be anything. It doesn't just necessarily have to be drugs or alcohol. It can just be shopping. Because I know there was a time period I went through a period of shopping addiction. And that, I
had my phase. I'm not gonna lie, like, I became at one point like a Amazon junkie.
I love me on Amazon. Yes. Don't play me. Girl, I love me on Amazon.
It became serious. It became so bad. I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I gotta stop. Like, I have a Prime account, so I get all my stuff like literally the next day. Right. So it's so convenient. So I just was like, I'm gonna start buying all my stuff here on Amazon. And it just came to the point, like, I was getting deliveries every day. Like, it was crazy.
They might as well moved in.
I'm telling you, I went through a phase and I had to like stop myself. But I think the one thing, like I said, for me, that has been an ongoing addiction has been emotional eating. And when she talked about that in the chapter, this is chapter 3, guys, in case you're wondering,
right?
Where she talks about empaths and addiction. She goes in on the overeating, and what she said was deep, because there's a passage where she talks about with overeating, sometimes it's a subconscious need to build a wall, and with our weight, it's our way to shield. Like, it's a subconscious way to shield the weight.
As a way to protect yourself. Yeah.
Wow. Like, when I read that, I was like, I didn't know what to do, because
it makes sense. Because it hit, because it felt it, because subconsciously, right? We're not thinking about that. Subconsciously, we're just like, oh, we're hungry. We're gonna eat. Ooh, that looks good, right? But when we're reading something and we're like, okay, why did I eat that? And then when I did read that passage, it kind of hit me, and I was like, I am offended, but I needed to hear that. So no, absolutely. It's so the need to protect yourself as an empath. Our subconscious tells us that all the time, and our spirit inside of us is always telling us that we need to protect ourselves all the time. And we just find healthier ways to cope.
No, it's hard. I was just like, man, that hit home for me. And there's so many other variables too, and I know you can relate to this. I mean, culturally, our way of life is surrounded by food too.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
especially with the Chinese community, especially with the Spanish community.
you
I'm
already
half
know.
Portuguese. I'm half Portuguese and I'm half Chinese. We drink and we eat. What are you
All
talking
the
about?
time. All the time. And then if you're like, no, I'm trying to cut down, oh, I'm
What do
not
you mean?
hungry.
Here.
It's offensive, right?
It's
You
offensive.
can't.
I couldn't tell my mother no that I wasn't hungry. She would look at me like,
Yeah, it's offensive. It's
it's
straight up
very offensive.
offensive. It's like, what do you mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't
Yes.
say no. So it's like,
Can't say no. And that's another thing that I made to make sure that I implemented on my kids too. Like, if they're eating, eat until you think that you're okay. I'm not gonna fill you up like that. I'm gonna make sure that you have your fill to eat, and I'm not gonna force another plate on you if you're not hungry. And that's always worked for my kids. And I just wanted my kids to grow up in a different environment than I did, because being an empath, being forced to eat more food kind
right.
of was like, what can I
I
do?
yeah, I'm the same way, and I don't want to do that either. Like, I'm constantly with my nieces, and I let them tell me, they're like, they'll tell me, Titi, I had enough. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Just leave it
That's
there if
cool.
you want some for later.
That's right.
Like back in the day, I grew up that I had to clean my plate, because if I didn't, I get in trouble. You better finish that
Right.
food. Like,
Same.
that's
I
how
was
I
told I
came
had to
up.
eat every grain of rice on my food, on my plate, and I did.
Or
But
I
the
would get
thing
it
is,
spoon fed to me. Like, you better eat the like, yeah.
it's just when things like that happen, it's also, and another thing that she touched on this with empaths, when our boundaries are crossed and we don't say no, even at a young age, this continues to happen in our life. And so this is something that we were brought up into, and it's not healthy. So, as empaths, we understand we can't force something on someone. We understand, like, hey, if someone says no, that's a full sentence, that's a full command, that's a no. We got to respect that boundary, period. And
Absolutely.
growing up, and I feel like a lot of empaths have experienced this. A lot of people growing up crossed our boundaries constantly, and because we didn't have the tools to do that, we allowed it. We allowed so much to happen to us growing up. And now that we have this freaking amazing guide to teach us how to protect ourselves from addiction and from, falling for the wrong person, like narcissists or other energy vampires, things like that,
She
this
got a
book.
whole last chapter on the toxic narcissist.
I was like, I need to print this out and put it on my wall.
She wrote a whole ass chapter, guys. Like, she goes in.
She meant it. She meant it.
Yeah. And I think that, that's so important that she emphasized on the dark side of being an empath, the things that we face as
the
empaths.
Dark night of the soul. We always go through it. Even when we don't want to go through it, it pops up. We're like, come on.
Right. And she really emphasized on that, because so many times it's like we're made to be out like these spineless like victims, and we're not. We can be empowered, we can thrive as empaths, and like, she gave us a voice, like you said, made us feel seen.
Yes.
So that narcissist chapter was woof. I was like, man.
Ooh, I was like,
yeah,
because she also touched base. This was in the first chapter as well as in the narcissist chapter, chapter I believe 5. And so, and she said, let me make sure that I don't quote me. I'll have it all memorized, y'all. No, no, but number 5. That's where the narcissism energy of vampires at. But how she touched on empaths growing up in narcissistic as well as energy draining places, and it's true. We there's a lot of people that I know who are empaths that grew up with narcissistic parents. There are a lot of people that I know that are empaths that struggle with this still to this day, no matter what. And it's yeah, it's not an easy thing.
No, it's not. And she talked about experiencing it not just at home, but at the workplace, you know, and she has a whole chapter on relationships. And to me, I think that was, for me at the time when I first read it, the relationship chapter hit home for me because I was single at the time, and I kept feeling like I was hitting a wall constantly with dating and my relationships, and I so very often felt misunderstood by the people I was seeing, like my past partners.
Because we got involved with emotionally unavailable people.
Right. That part.
Because guess what? Because we were afraid to commit. That's why.
Yeah.
We were afraid.
It calls you out. That chapter
it called me out, and I was like,
that there was something within us that welcomes that, because there's a part of us, like you said, that's unavailable. You know what I mean? So that in itself was like, yep, I had to own that. You know what I mean? And
yes, I didn't like it, but I owned it.
Right. Exactly. So that she mentioned the fact that her and her partner now sometimes sleep separately.
I know, I saw that. And when, okay. Commercial break.
Right? Yeah.
Hold on.
Right.
Commercial break.
So
when she said that, I was like, that makes complete sense to me, because I do struggle with wanting to be loved and feeling loved and cuddled and everything, but I also want to be alone. I enjoy my alone time. I love that.
All the time. And I feel like that was one of the major red flags on my end. I used to get a lot of backlash from past partners, like, you know, why are you so cold? Like, why don't you want to cuddle and things like that? And I just was like, there were just moments where I just wasn't feeling it. And I was like,
you're touched out.
I was like, what the hell's the matter with me? Like, why am I not like open to this right now? And I just wasn't. And then I would just constantly get that sort of reaction, like, did I do something? Like, they would take it extremely personal. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I'm just tired, you know. And it was like you said, it was always something that was triggering it. I guess stress from work and things outside. It had nothing to do.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's where the disconnect is when it comes to partners. Sometimes if you are a partner with an empath, or you're an empath with someone who isn't an empath, this book is for you. You definitely need to read this book. So, and your partner needs to read this book too. So they understand that you're not just being aloof. We're not just being, standoffish in there. It's sometimes we are emotionally and energetically burnt out from the day. I can't begin to tell you, me going to get gas, go to Walmart, get something from the hair store, and come back completely wipes me out. Even just going to Walmart to get one thing completely wipes me out. I'm like, I desire to lay down. Like, people just
and it
just
I like, this is
it.
why I said I wish I had this years ago, because I would have had the strength, or the the information with me, the wisdom to take me and give me the courage to explain to my partner, listen, I'm an empath, and there's certain needs that I have, and I just need you to know it's nothing personal, and I'll just tell him, that this is how I operate, and it's again, it has nothing to do with you. So I wish I had this so long ago.
Me too. And I'm so surprised I haven't even read this until now, and I'm 30 something years old. Why have I just read this right now? This is ridiculous. I read it literally in a week, and I'm just like, wow, just so much knowledge. And not only that, there's meditation that she gives to you. She's like, hey, record it, meditate. Just do what you need to do to focus on yourself and fix it.
If you buy the book, you get the CD, the meditation CD that comes with it.
Y'all buy the book.
If you guys buy it, like if you go to the bookstore, you get the CD that comes with it. However, you could find the meditations to this book on on YouTube here, but you know, I'll provide some links because I got an ebook link. I have, you know, I have the audio book link. I'll put all that in there, and I'll see if I find the meditations also.
Absolutely.
Because I provided that for everybody who wanted to join in on the conversation.
Perfect.
I see some of y'all are watching, and you know, we want to hear from you. What did you got? If you guys read the book, what did you think of it? Are there any specific parts you want to discuss? You know, let us know in the comments.
Absolutely.
Let us know in the chat, you know, so we can just start a dialogue, get it popping over here. So, but yeah, back to the relationship thing and the whole sleeping together or sleeping separately. That's so controversial, right? Like there's so much backlash with that. But if you notice, like in the, you know, classic movies, the partners would have separate beds. They would have separate beds. Remember, like I Love Lucy? Remember I Love Lucy and Desi? They had separate, you know, Lucy and Ricky had separate beds.
Yep,
you know
they sure did.
So that was always a theme in classic movies where they had the separate beds. And you know,
Lucy was an empath.
I believe she was.
She was crying all the time. Yeah.
Ricky. And she did struggle with addiction. She had her drinking issues, from what I understand. She did.
And she probably tried to protect herself. And
she was a Cancer too, I believe, wasn't she?
I think. I don't know. Let's look. Lucille Ball.
Yeah, let's give it a look, because I do believe she or was she a Leo? No, I think she was a Leo.
August 6th, she's a Leo.
Yeah, she's a Leo.
She's adorable. I love her.
But since Cancer's so close to her, she might have had some strong Cancer, maybe moon rising or something.
Right. I agree. Because I'm a strong believer in, you know, dominant signs with months. So I was born in the month of June. Gemini is the dominant sign. I definitely have Gemini traits. I talk way too much, and I joke on people sometimes, but I can take it too far, and I don't mean to. You know, it's all in jest. I don't make fun of people. I just make fun.
No, I got love for my Geminis. You know, I feel like a lot of times they have such a bad rap.
They do. They do. I love Gemini. I think they're amazing.
They're not afraid to talk about things. They're not afraid to talk about the things most people aren't. You know what I mean?
I love that.
So I could just go all day talking with a Gemini, you know, about any and everything, and it's awesome, you know, because they're the most open-minded conversationalists that you could possibly have.
And that and Aquarius too. Aquarius is just, I just love it. I love it.
That's me. I'm an Aqua, so that's why I say, you know, like with Geminis, they're my air brothers and sisters, so we could just like all day.
And my Lilith is in Gemini. So I either could talk too much or I don't talk at all. So, it's a blessing and a curse. Being a Gemini, I feel like a bard. I feel like I'm annoying sometimes, and I'm just like, oh.
It's all good. And like I said, you know, we have, you know, on that note, we have qualities of every sign too at some point in the chart. So, but yeah, getting back to the book, you know, I just feel like that particular chapter for me, like I said, the relationship one was, and the one that the narcissist chapter as well. I think just the book as a whole, like it just, but those particular, and I'm like, there's certain things, because like you said, it's a spectrum, and every empath's needs are unique. It's not a one size fits all.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think
just like there's different levels of empaths. There's everywhere.
This gives you the confidence to have that heart to heart, that dialogue with your partner, and tell them, hey, you know, I even had a conversation with a friend a couple of years ago, even before I read this book. And I remember her telling me that her and her partner, they don't sleep together. He doesn't like to sleep with someone. He likes to sleep alone. And she was cool with it.
That's fine. Like, I mean, some people, that's just what it is with some people. And people need to understand that. I know, you know, of individuals that are in relationships and they're not, they just have a romantic, intimate relationship. It's not a physical relationship, but they're with someone, and they have someone who understands them, and I think that's beautiful, you know. And some people might think that's weird, but the thing is, to an empath, into somebody else who feels like, hey, this is something that I know works for me. This is something I know that I need, and I need someone who follows that and is
Right.
okay with that. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, there's
No.
asexual people, okay? We have to
Yeah.
be respectful of things. There's people who are not attracted to people sexually and they just want to be romantic. They just want to be intimate, have that
Right.
connection. That makes sense. And I
And
think
it
that's
was there exactly.
mhm.
It was, you hit the nail right on the head with that, because it was their understanding, you know. And she told me, she was like, Chas, you know, like I get a lot of shit, pardon my French, from family members and other
Because they don't
friends, like,
understand.
because they don't get it. They think it's a red flag. They think something's wrong with him, but I understand him. It is an
Hmm.
understanding between us. And we even discussed in the future, if we ever get married and he
Hmm.
wants to sleep in a separate bedroom, that's fine. You know what I mean? I love him and I accept him as is. And like, she was like, and I'm getting it from all kinds of people that it's weird and that it, you know, and I said,
No,
no, I said, I
no,
don't
it's
think it
not.
is by any, I don't think it is by any means. I think if
No.
that is the understanding you both have, it's your connection. You know what I mean? And that's fine. And another thing, and I'm so glad she emphasized this in the book about relationships, is that you might not need to spend time with them every day.
Right.
Because remember,
Right.
she mentioned that her partner, she'll see her partner like every weekend or every other weekend.
Yep. Hmm. Hmm.
You know, before they moved in together, they would see each other like every weekend or every other weekend.
Hmm.
And that sort of sounds like my relationship. And
Right.
I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I've even had comments about that. And I'm like, look, this is our understanding. Okay. And we're cool with
Do
it.
people not
And
know how
we're
to date
happy.
anymore? Do people not go in relationships? Like, what's going on? People, every relationship, y'all, is different. Don't judge your
Exactly.
relationship to somebody else. Cut that shit
Right.
out.
Right. And
Cut it out.
our quality time is our quality time. It's
And
our
it's beautiful.
understanding. You know, I said, I don't need to be around my partner 24/7, 7 days
Right.
a week. I have my
Right.
own life. He has his own life,
And that's the
you
way it's
know,
supposed to be. That's healthy. That's healthy.
you know what
Why
I
are not
mean?
people understanding that? I think that what's toxic, and I think where empaths do fuck up, is that they have this notion because they're so much in love with someone, they have to be with them every single day. But the
Mhm.
thing is, you don't realize, even as an empath, empaths can do this, even though you might feel drained, you can drain your partner's energy.
Right.
You get that high from being with them. You get that euphoric feeling of that intimacy.
Hmm.
It is not healthy to see someone every single day. It's not. Now, when
And
you're
what if
married,
they're empathic too, girl? It's a free for all. It's like y'all just sucking each other dry.
look, my husband is one, okay? I
Yeah.
love him, okay? When he's downstairs, I'm upstairs. If he's upstairs, I'm downstairs sometimes, but sometimes we'll be in the same room together, especially if we're talking, discussing. But he understands. You know what I'm saying? I'm so thankful that I have a partner who gets it. And when I see that he needs some time to himself, I'm like, okay, you don't even gotta say anything. I feel it. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go upstairs with the baby real quick. We're just gonna chill. We're gonna watch some, Maury. I don't know. But,
Right.
but, but
But
like,
it works and you
they
guys are
work.
happy. You know
Yep,
what I'm
it
saying?
works.
And like, I'm happy. I'm
Exactly.
honestly in the most healthiest relationship I've ever been in.
That's what I said to myself. I said, I am in one of the most healthiest relationships I've ever been in. And I think it's
By
because
far.
the communication, and it's the boundaries, and it's the understanding more than anything, to
And
be
that's the biggest
understood.
thing.
That's the
Yes.
best thing.
That
Because
and the boundaries, like you
we
said.
weren't, and we didn't have it.
Mm.
And I want to touch base on how she said to know the difference with your narcissist and the relationships and how you vent with people and how you're dumping on people.
Oh, girl, I shared that in the group. That was like, that was gospel. I had to share that in the group. I was like, listen, for
I was like,
everybody, for everybody that
I do
needs to know,
declare.
listen, this is the difference between venting and dumping. And I
Whew.
remember I shared this
She
in the
checked me.
empath group.
She checked
Uh,
me. So she checked me.
I
So I
caught
was like, wait a
myself
minute. I
too.
don't need to.
I did too. I was like, damn, I've done this to people. I feel bad as
I've
hell
done
right
because
now.
I've seen myself do this, like blaming others, playing the victim, not taking accountability, not doing the solutions or not coming up with solutions. Because my husband, he's a fixer. That's all he is. You know, his rising is actually in Libra. He's a balancer. He's like, yo, we got to fix this. We got to make it done. And he's a Taurus moon. So on top of that, he is a person with stability and he's the protector, right? And he just goes and, hey, we got to fix this. We stop. And he's the one who checks me the most because he knows when I'm dumping, he knows when I'm venting. And that's what I'm saying. You got to get a partner that understands the dumping part, the venting part, and you got to take accountability as an empath for your actions.
Yeah. And this book definitely holds you accountable on a lot of things. And I think, and it's not in a devaluing way. It's not in an attack mode. Because, you know, there's certain books that attack. It's just like, you're doing this wrong and that wrong. You're like, damn, I'm jacked up. I'm messed up. I'm like, what the hell?
She breaks it down to you in love. She really does. Like, yo, I understand. I'm going to break it down. She's very compassionate. Oh, yeah. I've loved it.
But it called us out, like you said, on several occasions. I got called the hell out with this book, guys.
I was like, it says it feels toxic and it goes on and on. I was like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop. We can't dump on people, guys.
I think one thing she mentioned was like, if someone is, you know, venting to you or trying to, the co-relatedness, like, oh, I've been through that too. It's not that bad or something. Yeah, that was just, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
And, the other, I love how she had a strategy, protection strategies. And we talked about that. You know, we talked about, you know, overeating. That's a way of protecting us. You know, drinking alcohol. That was a way of me protecting myself, right? She also talks about not just protecting yourself from narcissists, but also protecting yourself from victims, because victims can drain us too. Because we have such a, you know, compassionate heart. We want to help everyone, right? We want to be like, oh yeah, that's okay. I understand what you just said. I understand. I've been there too. And then you get sucked in. And then after that's done, you get drained and you're like, whoa, what just happened? What just happened? I was just trying to help someone, and you don't realize that, oh, this is someone who is dumping on you, and you're not setting those clear boundaries and expectations. You're not saying no with the smile. You know, you're not setting limits.
Yeah. And again, if you notice, it all comes back some way or another to boundaries.
Hold on, wait. I'm sorry. I just remembered one other thing that was funny. She said, protect yourself from drama queens and kings.
Oh, yes.
She said the first thing to do. She says, don't ask these. She said, don't ask these people how they do when you don't want to know. I was like,
in other words, the people that are extra, okay, like,
some shit.
Right, like back away.
Pause.
Like when it's too much and it's too extra, just like. But
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to break
you off. It's true.
That was so funny.
That part made me crack up too, like seriously, because it's true. It is so freaking true. It's like, because when you're in the middle of that and someone's just being drama, and it's just like you're like a deer in headlights. It's like you don't know what to do.
I know. Oh my gosh.
It's like you really don't know what to do. It's like, you don't, what am I supposed to do with this? And that as an empath, you're like, it's so much. It's like, what do I do with this? It's like an overload. You know what I mean?
Let me go pick up a rock. I don't know. Let me go somewhere real quick. I'm just gonna go.
Right. And you know, I remember that there was a time where I was mentoring someone, because I used to do an outside empath support group, and we used to actually have like meetings, and I befriended this person, and you know, they asked me to mentor them. And I think, again, like I said, somehow or some way, it always comes back to boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to help this person, and they would reach out to me constantly, and I would be more than happy to to help any which way I could. But then I realized that it became the dumping. It became too much. And when I set the boundary, the person apologized but kept doing it. And I remember that I experienced the overload, and I don't know, I guess maybe you could relate, but when I get overloaded, I shut down.
Absolutely. I shut down.
I
completely
shut
shut down.
all the way down.
I'm quiet. If I'm quiet, there's something wrong.
Yeah. And at one point, I just feel like there's nothing left to do, and I just leave it alone.
Right.
Because I already explained to you how, you cross the line with certain things, and you're going to continue to do it. So I don't know what to do at this point. So I'm just going to leave you right here where you are. So, it's like that moment when people are left on red.
Right.
Because I felt at that point, I hit a wall. There was no way to, I don't like to have to repeat or explain. Once again, you cross the line and you're doing it again. It's like, I don't know. It's just, I just feel like my patience, you know what I mean? Like the older I get,
and I think that's another thing that she touched on, was about our patience. We don't have we hate small talk. I hate small talk. Don't come to me talking about how's the weather. Shut up. I don't care. You know what the weather's out. Look out the window. Don't talk to me about this. You know what it looks like. Like, I hate that. All right. I wanted to ask you, in regards to your practice, your divination and everything, those boundaries. You're a tarot reader. I'm a tarot reader. This is what we do. We have to set those boundaries with individuals, especially if we read for someone. I remember I had someone I read, 1 week, and then they came back to me a week later talking about they want another reading. I said, no, that's not what we're doing here. That's not what this is about. You need to not rely on the cards. Make your decision. Make a choice. Think for yourself. This is just a guide, honey. A lot of people forget that, and they cross those boundaries too. Because once again, after I told them that week, came back another week, and I said, no, you haven't even done what you did for the first one. You haven't done anything for that. You need to do that first before you try to come here. You don't get readings every week. That's not what it's about. You get a reading, honestly, people, you get a reading when it's your last resort. That's really what it is. We are always the last resort. We're not the first person that people go to. Even King Solomon in the Bible went to a freaking oracle. Are you kidding me? Like, don't play with me. Do not play with me.
All day, yep.
Look, yo. Ooh, boundaries. Set them.
For real.
Set them.
And then you get going back to what we discussed, and it's mentioned in the book, people get addicted to readers, get addicted to readings. Okay, because I had those, the addicts, the ones that are literally messaging you and hitting you up every day. Oh, could I get another? And you're like, yo, I legit just talked to you yesterday.
Yeah.
Like,
and I don't think they understand that we're empaths. And when we're doing readings, that's energy work. I'm pulling your energy. I'm intentionally pulling your energy. That's a lot.
It is.
And for you to hit me up every week for a reading and deplete my energy from me pulling yours, that's inconsiderate.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And like you said, there's an addiction to readings now more than ever with people.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so glad that, now that I have a really good set of individuals who come to me every once in a while, and they hit me up like, hey, you read for me maybe a few months ago. Hey, maybe read for me about 6 months ago. I just want to see what everything's going on now. I understand that, but every day, every week, leave me alone. I'm a block.
Right. And that's why
you're a block.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I now, I correlate that with my title. I'm an empath. I'm a psychic empath. So they can know that, I'm highly sensitive, and, a lot of people know about empath now. So it's very much in the mainstream nowadays. So if you don't know what an empath is, then what is it? If you don't know, you better ask somebody.
You better ask. Because we already know you.
Hey, Melissa. We got Melissa saying hello in the chat. Hello, sweetie. How are you?
Hello.
So we're just discussing the book. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but if you did, let us know what you thought about it. If there's anything you want to share with us, because we're just discussing it, and how helpful we felt it was for us as empaths, and really for those of you out there that were never aware that you were an empath. You read this book, and like you said, you're like, holy crap, this is me all day. Like it just like
I definitely could have
checks
used this. I could have definitely used this 10 years ago.
Right. Seriously, like again,
I would have saved a lot.
If we only had this a long time ago, like for real, like
for real,
it's life changing. It
is.
Really is.
It
It's
is.
one of those books that is for everyone that's watching. If you deal with this or you just discovered that you're highly sensitive, we both of us recommend this book.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
We recommend this book because it is a great starting off point on your journey, because this is going to be something that's with you all the way to you cross over, guys. You're an empath for life. You can't turn it off. You can't.
Even when you're gone from this life, guess what? Wah, wah, wah.
Right.
Guess what?
Right.
You think you're gonna get away from it? No.
Right.
You can't get away from this.
No,
you have to understand there's something that happened in your past to cause you this. Okay?
Right.
Past lives. And guess what? You chose this in your other life, and now it never goes away. It's kind of like glitter.
Right.
It's like glitter. You asked for glitter about 2 years ago, and you cleaned up, and then 3 years after you try to move out your apartment, you find more glitter.
Right.
So
yes.
It's never going away.
And we're out there. There's so many of us out there, and so many that don't know that they're empaths or highly sensitive. And like I said, now there's more content out there. There's more, texts out there. Like this book is one of them. And I have to say, I read a few, but this book by far is one of the best out there. I read several, and this book right here is the truth, guys. It's the truth.
I realized it's a book that if you read the chapter over again, there's another message for you. There's something else new you're going to learn.
Time around.
So don't ever, like, if you feel like, oh, okay, I read it, I know what to do, blah, blah, blah. If you look at the book, like after a year and say, oh, I read that book, and you did not just look at that book for a reason. Something is telling you to look at that book and read it again, because you're going to learn something else. And I did reread a certain what was the chapter with the parents, and so I learned something new, like after reading that again, like after that 5 minutes. I was like, oh, wait a minute, how did I overlook that? How did I not get that? Look, I feel like this book here is a constant. It's a book that's alive, if that makes sense. It's a book that you can need. It's something that's for you, period. And I just think that it's
for
beautiful.
Everybody that is, a part of our network, is our peoples. You need this in your library, y'all. You need this in your library.
Get a physical copy.
This is only one of my bookshelves, but this bad boy is in my bookshelf. Like,
yes.
And I'm more than happy to lend it out. I have lent it out to my sister. I have lent it out to a friend. Like, listen, if you need it, you live near me, I got you.
And it's not just guides, guys. She gives affirmations. She does tests in here. She does assessments in here. She gives you the breakdown and the blueprint of energy vampires and critics, and she tells you how to take care of yourself. It's not just a guide. It's literally a spiritual health book. That's exactly what it is. It's a spiritual health book, and it teaches you how to take care of yourself as an empath. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
And the parenting and dealing with empathic children, that chapter is brilliant, because there's so many highly sensitive children out there, empathic children, and they don't really talk about it in the schools. You know what I mean? And they talk about, the sensitive child and how they view the world and how they connect. And I just wish that this is something that can be incorporated in school more. And I think it is now. I think they've made a lot of strides since we were kids. I really do. I really think that now they're more open to that. Because with my nieces, they're both highly sensitive, and one of my nieces is autistic. And autism, children with autism tend to be hypersensitive.
Right, exactly.
And I noticed when my niece is having, a moment where she's overwhelmed, she won't be able to verbalize because she's feeling it so much. That's when the child needs to be embraced, and they need to feel safe.
Right. And that's my first when I was 18 years old, my first love was working with the autistic community as a pre-counselor. And so I always have a love for the autistic community. And in my personal opinion, I've always felt that autistic individuals were empathic, always, because they could sense things that I couldn't even sense. They're so highly in tune to things. It's insane. It's like, wow.
My niece is a weather witch. I kid you not. Lee.
They feel it.
When she was like 4 or 5, and she was looking out the window. Mind you, it's sunny. There's clouds. And she goes, "Oh, Titi, look, it's gonna rain." I'm like, "Where?" I kid you not. Like 45 minutes later, it was coming down.
They sense it. I'm not gonna lie to you. They sense it.
It was crazy.
They know.
Yeah. And my other niece, because how they break down the different empaths. My younger niece is a psychic empath. She can sense spirits. She feels them, sees them, and they talk to her. And she's told me in confidence, and she was like, I'm very afraid. I don't like to talk about it. I don't want people to think I'm weird. And I'm like, you're not weird, and like,
just know who to talk to.
Right. She talks to me because she knows what I do. She knows the line of work that I'm in because I've explained it to her, and she's very fascinated. She asks us questions all the time. So, and I think it's because, it's something that we share, because she can see as well. She has abilities as well. So, but I think the book itself, explaining about parenting and dealing with the highly sensitive children, it's so imperative, guys, to really read this, especially as a parent of a sensitive child, and
especially if you're an empathic parent. I have got smacked in the face so much by this chapter. Are you kidding me? Like, watch what you eat. Don't be a helicopter parent. I'm like, yo, are you?
Melissa said she liked the quiz. She liked the quiz too, and like to determine what type of empath you were. Yeah, the quizzes are great.
The quizzes are great
because it really gets you to understand yourself. Like you said in the beginning, Lee, it's like, I feel seen. I'm not crazy. I'm not bugging. I'm not weird. I'm just highly sensitive. And that's just it. This book lets you see and understand that it was never something wrong with you ever.
Right. And I love how they also have the assessment for your child. You can tell what your child is. And I already figured, I knew, I just needed confirmation. And I was like, oh, here it is. And the thing is, they're so, I have a 14-year-old and a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old, and the older ones, they're so wise, and they'll check me, you know what I'm saying? And they do it, of course, in a loving way, like, hey, Mom. They're just so, I love the fact that they're just so open and that they feel comfortable to communicate with me, because I didn't have that as an empathic child growing up in a very strict Pentecostal home. So to have, because it was a sign of disrespect if a child asked questions. It was a sign of disrespect if a child told you, hey, no, I don't feel comfortable with that, right? So I have my kids, and they'll tell me like, no, Mom, I don't want a hug right now, or no, Mom, I just want to be by myself right now. And I love that. And I don't take offense to it because I understand. And it's just, this is extra confirmation that I knew. I was like, oh, my babies, good.
Yeah, allowing them space to be themselves and to be
Yes.
who they are.
Let them grow.
That's how trust develops with your child.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think that's why, because, you know, I'm with my nieces a lot, you know, and I think that's why they trust me and they feel safe to talk to me about certain things, because I hold that space for them and I let them be them. I let them be their unique, awesome selves.
Right.
You know what I mean? And with any child, you know, it's that they need that, you know, whenever you're hindering them to be, you know, hindering their unique self is when they're just going to shut down and close off.
Right. And you know, and if you have an empathic child and you are committed to misunderstanding them, they're gonna close off from you. You're pushing them away. They're gonna learn that you cannot be trusted. Even if you're their mom or their dad, they're gonna learn that. You know, and unfortunately that's something that I learned at a very young age. I couldn't trust the adults in my life to protect me, to even stand up for me, you know? And this book right here teaches you, like, hey, don't be a shitty parent. Hey, don't raise shitty kids. Help them. And you know what? The serenity prayer that made me laugh. It says, "Please grant me the serenity to accept the parents that I cannot."
Right. The serenity prayer. The serenity prayer for the parents was everything. Do you understand?
That is for me. Do you understand how much she spoke to me?
Listen, when I saw that, I said, wait a minute. I gotta screenshot this, or I gotta write it down.
I love it.
I gotta write this on a Post-it, put it on my desk every day to remind myself.
Remind yourself, like, hey, grant me the serenity to accept this. Like, look, I can't change people, and I also had, you know, to realize, like, hey, not everyone's gonna accept you for who you are, and that's all right. You don't gotta be around them though. Set those boundaries.
I literally said that today because, you know, I had to cut off, unfortunately, certain family members.
Had to. Me too.
Okay?
Me too.
And I was matter of fact, I was just talking to my mom on the phone today, and I said, Mom, you know, I'm at a space where I love these people, but I have to love them from afar.
Exactly.
Like, straight up. It's nothing personal. It's just where I am. I have love for them, but I gotta love them from afar.
Absolutely. You know, when someone, you know, my mother and I were estranged, and so when, you know, she comes at me in a very negative way, whatever, because we don't believe the same way, you know, I choose not to say anything, because as an empath, this book helped me. Okay, because I would go back and forth with her to prove something. I don't gotta prove nothing no more. I'm where I'm at spiritually, because this is where I'm at. I am comfortable here because I belong here. This is where I feel the most comfortable, you know? And I love the fact, after the serenity prayer, she put the Ho'oponopono prayer up there. Yes. I'm sorry, I forgive you, I love you, thank you. And that is a beautiful Hawaiian prayer, because I used to live in Hawaii. They do that every single day. And it's crazy. They do it with for meditation in the morning. It's a whole different world in Hawaii. Let me just tell you, first and foremost. So if you've ever been to,
bucket list. That's bucket list goals.
If you've ever been to the islands, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, whatever, that's how it feels. It feels like a vacation every day, and you never want to leave. So when I used to live there, you know, I used to hear the Ho'oponopono prayer all the time. And it's a beautiful prayer to say, and to also regulate and ground yourself. Like, hey, you got to forgive other people, forgive yourself, not for them, but for you. That's it. And necessarily, you don't have to forgive people to move on either. If the you know, if it calls for it, you know, you don't have to. You do not have to. Protect yourself.
Yeah, you are where you are, and it again, it's about accepting yourself and where you are. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Right. And I think that's the key point of this entire book, is for you to become aware of yourself as a highly sensitive person. Okay. And how to basically navigate through your life in different situations, you know, whether a partner in a relationship, a parent, a coworker, a boss, you know what I mean? A child to a, you know, narcissistic parents, you know, a recovering addict, you know, like they cover all, she covers all the bases here.
Everything.
And it's
And it's
important.
just
It's an important part um of your life when you awaken to this reality of being highly sensitive, of being an empath. Because again, it's like, now you know. now you're
right.
now you know. Now you
Now
get
you
it.
know. Now you get it.
And
What in
now
the
that
world?
you are aware, now you can move forward. Now you can learn how to empower yourself, how
Yep.
to thrive, how to, and how to help others too who are just starting out with this and just figuring all of this out. You know what I mean? You can mentor them, and I've done that a lot because I've been on this journey. For me, I discovered I was an empath back in 2015. So it's been only a couple of years, but it's been a long journey for
Right.
these couple of years. And when I see folks that I, know and they're going through it, they're just starting out, they're just in the beginning stages of this awareness. I said, listen, I can help you. I got some great books, this one included, that can really help, give you the, information you need to go forward. And I'm very and I'm about that life, and I know you are too, Lee, about empowerment.
Absolutely.
And that's what's so important, and I think that's what's so wonderful about this book, is that she encourages empowerment. She's been through hell and back too. Like I said, she said in the book, she went through addiction, guys. She went through drug addiction.
She had a car accident. When she
alcoholism.
drove off a cliff, it almost died.
Yeah, she was
Like,
suicidal.
she was
You know what I mean?
like so much happened to this woman. Like, holy crap, how are you alive, lady?
She's been through it, so it's not like she's just some
Woo
therapist and got a
woo, woo woo.
PhD.
Just a
She's
woo
not
woo.
somewhat academic, one of those intellectuals in academia that did a 50-page thesis.
Just
Right.
research.
Like, she's had some real world situations that happened to her as a sensitive person, and that's how this is also a personal account of her experience, which you appreciate, because it makes it personal. It makes it an approachable, because some books have to be approachable. Does that make sense? Like, some books aren't approachable, and you're just like reading a chapter and you're like, you lose interest immediately. You know what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely. No, she sucked me in. As soon as she said, no, you're not sensitive, and you're not overly sensitive, you're an empath. This is who you are, and nothing was ever wrong with you. As soon as those words were said, nothing was wrong with me, I was sucked in. I was like, all right, let me.
Yes, you got me.
You got me.
She had me by the first chapter, and I was actually watching another YouTube channel by a woman who's a narcissistic abuse advocate, and she had recommended this book.
Nice.
And so I picked it up, and I was like, oh, this is the book. And I got it, and like I said, life-changing, y'all. It's just life-changing, for real.
Absolutely.
And like, we could go on and on till we're blue in the face, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it got 5 stars for me. Like,
absolutely, 5 stars, absolutely.
There,
and if you're not getting the book,
qualms. We have no qualms with saying there were some bad parts to it. There was stuff they didn't touch on. Right. Like, we have no qualms with saying.
No, absolutely. If it didn't match with me, I'll be like, oh, I'm an empath. I don't agree with that. No, I agree with everything in this book. I was being called out, being said, hey, you got to set these boundaries, to being said, like, hey, you have, empathic children. This is how you deal with it as an empathic parent. Whew. Whole lot of calling it out. Whole lot of new jewels I received, right? New spiritual jewels, because she drops a lot of them, guys, and you got to pick them up. Take some for yourself, seriously.
And it's for everybody, like you said. Everybody. If you're not sensitive but have a empath partner, this is for you too. It's for everybody. Right. Like, seriously,
it's for everyone. And as I stated before in the beginning, she's not just some woo-woo practitioner person. She is a person with a PhD. She is a psychiatrist. She is not only just a psychiatrist, she is a spiritual individual. She understands this. So there's science and spirituality mixed into this. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I
Yeah.
love it.
So thank you guys for choosing this one, and I'm really thankful to everybody in the group that chose this, because I needed to read this again.
Absolutely.
I did. I really
and I needed to read it
again. Yes.
I needed to read.
If you haven't yet, like I said, I'll put the audiobook version here too. Like if you just want to listen to it, that's just as good. But
the voice is annoying a bit. You're right. The voice was annoying just a bit, but I got the gist. I got the gist.
It's a little robotic, but
yeah,
you get used to it after a while, and it just everything that is said in the book hits home, and you just kind of overlook it.
Right.
For the most part.
Right.
You know, it's a great book. It's a really awesome book, and I'm excited
I'm excited.
I'm excited to see what book you guys choose for next month. Again, if you're watching and there's any books you want to recommend to us, drop them in the comments.
Please.
Okay. And if you're part of our group, please participate in the polls. Choose the books that you want us to discuss, and we'll be here for you, you know, and join in on the conversation, because everyone that joins in on the conversation just makes this all the better, and it's why we're doing it. Just to open a dialogue and
absolutely ask some questions. What resonated with you guys? What didn't? I mean, I need to know, because I resonated with everything with this, and I'm just like,
from beginning to end.
I never felt so seen in my life. I love it. It's like listening to a great like CD or something. Oh, I said CD. Oh, my age. Excuse me.
You took it back.
I mean Spotify MP3 player. You know, Pandora. That's what I meant. Apple Music.
So yes, guys, again, 5 stars for this book, and I'm so glad that I opened it up and read it again. It's been a real godsend, this book. It really is.
Absolutely, and you have been a godsend as well, Indigo. Thank you so much for having me a part of this. I love this. I am so excited for this. I'm like, yes.
I mean, we've been sending each other links. You notice we be tagging each other. Oh, did you see this book? This looks like something we should read.
I was like, ooh, this looks good.
Yes.
How are we gonna get
I've gotten really back into my reading, because I would just go through phases, you know.
Yeah,
but I'm
me too.
Lately I've been getting back into reading, and like one of my, you know, I think this is cathartic, like therapy for me. It is going to a bookstore, looking through all the books, and just coming home with books and getting excited about reading them, and like,
that's what we do as a family. We go to Barnes and Noble, or we go to Second and Charles, and
that is an outing. Okay.
No, that is an outing. I love Second and Charles. Do not play with me. I could say that all day.
All day, and everything in a Barnes and Nobles.
And they're oh my god. I want everything.
And they got Starbucks in there. You have yourself a coffee, a scone. Yo, it's everything. It's everything.
It got everything there. They have everything
you sit down. I usually sit down. I have my stack of books. I have like my latte, and I have like my little like spoon or whatever it is that I decide to have as a dessert. My life is complete. It's complete.
Right.
Everything I need.
And that's what she touches base on this in here too. We only need simplistic things, where we don't need a whole bunch of splashy stuff, because as empaths, we don't care for that. Anyways, we care about our solitude and our peace more than anything. Yeah. And that's where peace of mind, that's where I draw the line. Thank you.
Absolutely. Alrighty, guys. So we're going to just leave it here. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in and showing your support. Again, we're going to be doing this monthly with great books and having these open discussions. So looking forward to it. So yeah, again, drop your comments, book suggestions, all that good stuff. And don't forget to like.
Please
subscribe.
Absolutely. All right. Bye, guys.
So until next time, guys.
Until next time, next month. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.